What is something a friend did that accidentally turned you on? Told me she had a dream about me. She stole a piece of hard candy from some old thing got from Japan, but didn't like the flavor. She asked if I wanted it and I said sure, and she pulled it from her mouth and put it in mine. Winked at me slow AF after we shared an inside joke. Never felt that before LOL. A friend was reading a brochure out loud to me, nothing salacious, but the feeling of being read to felt very intense and intimate. I fell in love for about 30 seconds. Haven't gotten anyone to read to me since. Fixed the doorknob in my room LOL. Is that what the kids are calling it these days? Whispered/talking behind my ears. I lost strength in my legs. Sat on my lap. I think she meant it as a friendly way, but it took every bit of willpower not to get a boner. My dick is an attention whore, so anytime any part of any person comes close to my lap, little buddy thinks it's boner time. I had a friend put her feet on my lap. I'm not even particularly fond of feet and I tried like hell, but just knowing she was inches from my junk was all it took. Ended up poking her in the ankle and we had sex, so it all worked out LOL. She moaned after I cracked her knuckles, ha ha ha. My friend was driving and he had to take out the card to tap into a car park. He started to reverse into a lot and had the card between his pursed lips. He also placed his arm around the headrest of the seat next to him. When I looked at him, damn, it looked kinda hot. I don't know how or why that aroused something in me. She laid her head on my shoulder, and I think I stopped breathing. My good friend in high school sat next to me on a long bus ride. She fell asleep on my shoulder and stayed there for about 5 hours. I did not move the entire time. Girl I knew in college for 4 years and we were strictly platonic. We came out of a bar one night and a guy who frequently asked people for money was walking up, so without missing a beat she grabs me and starts making out with me. Guy walks away and she pulls back, staring up at me for a second before patting me on the chest and saying works every time. We left and never spoke about it again. Nice improvisation, Kristen, but now my pants don't fit right. Comforted me. I was crying about how I was struggling in life and in college. I was thinking about withdrawing for a semester to get things together. My mom had just been diagnosed with MS. I went to a female friend for help. She started rubbing my head and hugging me, and saying I'll be okay. I was so deprived of human touch, it was amazing and made me feel so much better. Then got hard, which made me feel extremely guilty. He pushed my hair out of my face while I was reading and his fingers brushed the back of my head. Little did he know I've got a thing for people playing with my hair. I was bemoaning the enormous mud puddle by his passenger door, trying to figure how to get in the car without getting in the puddle. He straight up said, "I got you, lil mama," and scooped me up, then deposited me into the car. I was sorely tempted to jump his bones right then and there. I went over to his friend's house, where he was staying. He was working on his car and I was like, "Yo, I'm here, loser," and he pushes himself out from under the car and he was all greasy, and the first thing he asked was if LD help work on the car with him, and when I said yes, he just had the biggest smile on his face. He looked like an idiot, and I dunno man, the greasy look with the beautiful white smile was just, ugh. Started to get invested in some of my interests and having fun and wanting to share all the new things she learned about it. Still miss her. I remember once I was reading on my laptop and a female friend came over to me wearing a new perfume. I'm not sure what was in it, but it activated all the right buttons. Not turned on. Booty felt like my heart was poked with a spear of happiness. She sent a voice message. I don't know why that made me jump up and be like, oh fuck. I was a theater kid in high school. One of my co-stars had this odd habit when she'd need to focus on a difficult part or cue we were working on. She'd bite her lower lip and get this really angry look on her face. I don't know why, but that stupid look on her face drove me up the goddamned wall. We were in Sweeney Todd my senior year. I was Sweeney, she was Mrs. Lovett. There's a section of the play where we danced together and sang a song called A Little Priest. We were both great singers but god-awful dancers, so it took a long time to master it. The whole time rehearsing, she'd stare at me angrily, biting her lower lip. That was like 16 years ago and I still get a little flustered when I think about it, LOL. He asked me to smell his cologne on his neck. As leaned in, he tilted his head to the side while he watched me and smiled. Night out. Me, M, and few friends just chilling and drinking. Then one of my friends, F, who had drunk a couple of drinks too much, tried to stood up from the sofa we were sitting on, but then she fell back and at the same time she grabbed me by my thigh for support, in which point the little guy woke up. And now I'm scared if someone touches my thighs. Pulled my ponytail, I let out a little noise. We both stared at each other for a few seconds and then fled. I handed her the remote for the TV and she brushed her fingers along my wrist as she took it. We would go on walks every night for a few months, just talking about our days. Her laugh was so interesting to me. I could feel a lot of conflict in it somehow, and I always wanted to know what was going on but didn't want to ask too many questions. Eventually she told me about life at home, which was awful to hear, but while she was telling me she grabbed my hand. It lasted maybe 2 weeks, just holding hands and walking, chatting, and just strictly friendship. Then she moved to the opposite coast. She was sweet and beautiful outwardly and in her soul. She winked at me one time, when punking her young sibling. It left me breathless. We were 16 at the time, but I still wonder where she ended up. Ms. T. Haas. If you're reading this, let's go for a walk? Damn, her name was Misty Ass. Moaned after she got hit by a softball. I was going over to her house first thing in the morning. When I knocked on the door, she opened it in her gym jams. Nothing revealing, just tracky bottoms and an old stroppy shirt. She looked so hot and smelled of bed, and it was super intoxicating. Sat by the hill, the beautiful sky, with me while we were in a park. I've never felt so connected to anyone before. Talked about how she likes certain type of guys in bed, not knowing I was exactly like what she was looking for. Me not wanting to appear to be lying to get in her pants, said nothing. Maybe she knew what she was doing. In grad school my friend gave a presentation. She is shy normally but nailed this presentation. For the presentation she wore a tight sweater, and for some reason that sweater got me so turned on. We're married now. They're called boobs. Sweater boobs are a real thing and they're glorious. I feel weird sharing this since I have otherwise not felt this way towards her, and she's one of my best friends in a completely platonic way. She's objectively attractive, but I've seen her bare breasts and not been turned on, is how platonic we usually are. What accidentally turned me on was the time we were at another friend's house and off to the side talking about random stuff when she suddenly remembered something she wanted to tell me. She perked up, sort of yelled my name, then punched me in the arm to get my attention. I genuinely have no idea what she said next, because I was both incredibly turned on and incredibly shocked that I was turned on. I was totally disinterested in him. Then one day he walked in wearing a tank top. Now we're fucking. She was meant to be going out with her friends one night, so she was all dressed up, but agreed to help me get headshots for my art project at the last minute, needed reference pictures. We took a little longer than expected, so she ended up staying home and we hung out and chatted for a while. From the way she was sitting, her dress kept slowly sliding up, revealing her thighs so she'd fix it. I was across the room from her so I could see what was going on. After this happened a couple of times, she kinda stopped fixing it. It wasn't revealing too much, but I couldn't help but notice. That was the moment when I realized I had a thing for legs. We have a happy ending though. She's now my girlfriend and things are going really well. She fell asleep on my shoulder and she wasn't wearing a bra. That a girl do this to me once. I kept telling myself she's your friend and doesn't need you fucking things up and making it weird, so focus on the TV and behave. After a while of me thinking she was asleep and watching TV, she finally asked if I was ever going to make a move because her neck was getting sore laying like that. Had my laptop on my lap. He leant over and wanted to show me something on it, the way his finger made little movements on the touchpad. Dang. It was like the touchpad was my clit. Andy lost my mind. I don't know if it's cause I'm into hands or what, but I'm gonna need you to erase this from my memory cause now I am imagining it. We were both drunk at a friend's house party, and I playfully pulled her hair to get her attention. She gasped, and then gave a happy little moan. What made it hotter was the way she gripped the seat of her chair with both hands, and encouraged me to do it again, and so I ended up playing with her hair all night. She whispered in my ear and went really close to my ear, and I felt her breath on my neck. I couldn't fucking think straight for a minute after that. She showed me her tits thinking I was gay. Talk. She has such a raspy, attractive voice. He's a musician and had a tiny, closet-sized room in the basement for his music studio control room, only big enough to fit his desk and 3 chairs maximum. BTW, at this point we've been friends for 3 years but never crossed any lines because I had a boyfriend. Anyway, one day I was like, hey, let's write a song together. Even though I have absolutely no musical talent, I figured LD try to come up with some lyrics or something, lol. So we are sitting there, close together in the shoebox-sized room, brainstorming, romantic-themed, song lyrics together, and we just had one of those chemistry/tension moments. Like from a teen movie. We didn't acknowledge it at all until after we finally started dating around 9-ish months later. Me and my best guy friend were fighting. We both did jujitsu for a long time, so it was pretty normal for us to grapple. And at one point he was on top of me in between my legs with my wrists pinned down, and he was breathing heavily right next to my ear. Needless to say, I had to shove him off me so I didn't kiss him right then and there. We're dating now. Dead look in the eye, bite finger and lip together. Don't know was it intentionally or not. Quite a turn on. The opposite. I bent over to grab my pen. He had a visible hard-on. We just laughed about it. We were sharing a room on a trip and she changed in front of me, then let me braid her hair. I complimented her and she turned her face away and covered it. I didn't think anything of it, was just saying how I felt. Seeing her embarrassed and shy was a turn on. This will sound silly, but in fairness, I already liked her. We both worked at a steel hardware place. LD been there a lot longer. One day she wanted to cut a piece of pretty thick chain which she'd never done before, so I was showing her how to make sure it was secure in the clamp and how to hold the angle grinder safely. I cut through both sides of a link, but obviously didn't quite go all the way through one side, which I didn't realize until LD removed it from the clamp. I told her don't worry, and started to twist it thinking it would just snap. I really wasn't trying to show off. I just thought it would be the easiest and quickest way to finish the job. Turns out it was a lot harder than I expected. I really had to put all my strength into it and twist it both ways for maybe 10 seconds, all whilst secretly realizing I couldn't wuss out now and had to see it through. Just as I nearly had it, I saw her staring wide-eyed at me, like, to be fair, clearly impressed as hell. When it snapped, the look on her face said it all. Seeing that reaction in her drove me absolutely wild, as did many things she did, to be fair. Man, I really miss her. Her head was laying on my lap and she was holding my hand to not fall from the small bench we were sitting on. Dude, any girl that lays their head on your lap, it's like your body knows before she knows she's gonna do it, and boom, boner good gravy. My GF at time was sleepy, so set her head down, boner pokes her in her ear, and we say nothing about it. Or at least me, I assume she just thought it was my jeans. She knew, they always know. He was sitting on the other end of the couch from me, and I had my feet upon the couch beside him, and he said his hands were cold, so he grabbed my feet and started rubbing his hands under my jeans on my ankles. He just kept kinda rubbing my ankles, and eventually his hands made it up to my calf. It was so casual, but the way he was willingly rubbing my legs really got me. LOL. Not really accidental as such, but I didn't expect it to have the effect on me that it had. I had a friend talk about how she would hit on guys, and I asked for a demonstration. She leaned in and nibbled on my ear while whispering something. Instant rush. It was weird. Whipped out his dick to piss in front of me, no shame or anything. LD never had some guy just casually say gotta piss and not even turn away. Now it's a fetish. When I was 13, I was spending the night at my best friend's house, just laying on his bed watching anime on my laptop. His 17-year-old sister walks in to ask him something, sees what I'm watching and says, "Oh, I was going to check that out. Is it any good?" Then proceeds to jump into bed next to me, spoon tied up against, with her head on my shoulder, and watch for a good 10 minutes. Now I know without a doubt, it was nothing sexual on her part. She was really popular, smoking hot, and not about to hook up with a gangly little 13-year-old that could have passed for 10. LOL. In fact, I'm guessing why she did it is she didn't really consider me any more than just a little kid. But the entire time I was laying there trembling in mental ecstasy, feeling her bare legs against mine, her breasts pushed up against my arm, and her breath on my neck. Let's just say it's a good thing the laptop was there to cover data. The more obvious evidence, Elle was highly aroused. By the time she got up, I was pretty sure this must be what losing your virginity feels like. Needless to say, that was my go-to fantasy for about a year afterwards. She asked me if I could put a necklace on her, gave it to me, and stood in front. I froze for a few seconds, pushed her hair to the side, and put the necklace on her neck. It wasn't much. I don't even know if you can call that turned on, but the feeling I felt at that exact moment, it was something else. She lifted her shirt up and had me feel how strong her abs were getting. She's the type of person who doesn't normally like being touched, but she grabbed my hand and put it on her stomach. By that point, LD been suppressing my feelings for her for years. It was after a yoga class, so loose-fitted clothing was involved, so I had to sit down very quickly after that. "I think you missed a signal." You're absolutely right. This was just one in a eyeing list of missed signals that eventually led to her being married to someone else and the physical tension between us never fully resolved. Moral of the story, boys, tell your friends you love them. Had a friend recently give me a hug for a few seconds too long. He had broad shoulders and my boobs pushing into him definitely got me a little turned on. She put her arm on my shoulder while talking to her friend. My bestie showing me her new swimsuit. Coworker/friend I was lusting for but keeping myself under control since she was happily married. She flipped her hair my direction while we were working at a desk. Face full of pheromones, about knocked me on my ass. Told her to stop that, so she did it on purpose, nearly smacking me in the face. Have you ever simultaneously felt your blood boil and your entire body relax? It's an experience. Whispered in my ear. Omelette du fromage. A friend of mine is a hardcore extrovert, and I am a hardcore introvert. So long talks with her are extremely draining for me. When I first met her, she was going on and on about something, and I started dissociating. I got really focused on her movements. She's very animated. She'd flip her hair, shift her weight and throw her hips out to one side or the other, basically sassy cartoon character type motions lol. She's got a high-pitched voice that sounds like a little bell to me. So I basically got mesmerized and did not actually hear anything she was saying. My brain just shut down and was like, pretty lady, pretty hair, pretty voice. We were bickering back and forth about something, don't even remember. He crosses his arms, he has visible muscles, stares me down with his eyebrow raised, and just goes, look here, sweetheart. The summer before my junior year of high school, my friend and I had to attend a meeting to prepare for the next year of school since we would be doing dual credit college courses. She had apparently had golf practice all day. Our school had a golf team, so she came in wearing white denim shorts, a t-shirt, and a baseball cap with her ponytail hanging out the back. I had a oh shit my friend is hot moment and then had a crush on her for 2 years. To this day, baseball caps and ponytails on women just does something to me. I had another friend in college who LD been in some plays with. We did a lot of hangouts at the place she rented. Sometimes when hanging out, she'd have me sit in front of the couch and she's go to town on my neck and shoulders because I was always a tense ball of stress and anxiety. Then she'd have me return the favor and let me massage her neck and shoulders, temples, even her thighs and calves. Yeah, it turned me on, but I didn't want to mix any signals and be weird. Later on I found out from a mutual friend that everyone assumed we were fooling around privately. Guess that was a missed opportunity. I was playing cards with a group of friends and we were mocking one of our friends because anyone could tell when he had a good hand because he would make a small moan after looking at his hand. So we were all pretending to moan after looking at our hands just to make fun of him. There was one girl in our group, and to put it bluntly she was a butch lesbian, no offense. She had a low, but feminine voice and whenever she moaned, man, that was some hot moaning. I've never been attracted to her or anything, and clearly it wasn't gonna happen, but that one time she suddenly looked very hot to me. Never talked about that to anyone. Didn't wanna risk disrespect my friend. I was hanging out with a friend from my college's Catholic student fellowship. WNE were in her dorm room, door open, lights on, Christian college. She was packing up to go home for the weekend and I was chatting with her while I sat on her bed. Suddenly, she dives under the bed, reaching for something underneath, by the wall. While she's under there, I can see her ass in skin-tight, see-through leggings under which she was absolutely not wearing any panties. I get this stone-faced, horrified look because I definitely wanted to fuck at that very moment. Then, as her butt is wiggling around on the floor, I hear, hey, can you come reach this? I hopped up off the bed, tucked my boner in my waistband, and got under the bed to help. Nothing actually happened. I'm in a happy relationship with my now wife, who I was dating seriously at the time, but I remember pulling her straightener out from some gross dusty corner of her floor under the bed and she was still under there like right next to me. She smelled good and looked cute, too, and that just made it even worse. After I got the straightener for her, I said have a good weekend. She leaned in to hug me, and immediately after I walked out of the dorm I called my so to see how she was doing and tell her I love her. So I'm into some pretty kinky stuff, like extreme BDSM that most people wouldn't do, so is my best friend. When we first started hanging out, we had never had a conversation about that. So this one day, he shows me some porn with the intention of shocking/upsetting me, but I was basically like yeah he watched this stuff all the time, Hey, that's a pretty good video. So we were just standing next to each other watching porn. Our other friend walks in like, hey, what are you guys watching? So now there's 3 of us standing side by side watching porn together for a solid couple minutes. Eventually we shut the video off because we realized 2 of us were getting aroused and the other was extremely uncomfortable. In high school, a friend of mine accidentally brushed her hand on my dong while taking something from my table. I acted like I felt nothing to avoid the awkwardness. You had your dong on the table. Back in high school we had a computer class. It was very easy and usually we got done early and just sat there on our phones. Well, we found $1.50 behind her computer that day and we started fighting over it because we had nothing better to do. She's not the strongest girl, so was just messing with her to take it away from me by prying my fist open. If she does, she can have it. So she's trying, but eventually she gets tried, decides, bites me on my arm. Anyway, it turned me on for some reason and I let go of the money because of the reaction. That's how I found I was into biting. We were video chatting after being long distance friends for years. LD seen pictures of her, had her on Facebook for 5+ years. I knew she was cute. What I didn't know was how strongly LD react to her flirting. She was in something low cut this particular day, and there was a lull and quiet in the convo. She leans forward to strike and in the process I see down her shirt and get a side profile. When she twists to the side, and the screen full when she leans back to pop her back. Knew she was cute, knew she was attractive, but I don't know if it was just distance or how long LD known her, or what. That was the first day LD felt full on arousal at her, and had trouble banishing the images from my mind. 9 years together, 2 kids, a house and me moving 2 states over later and she still swears it wasn't on purpose. I've mentioned this before, but had a friend I was already somewhat interested in. She knelt down in front of me to show off a tattoo she got on the back of her neck. Took all my willpower to not pop wood in those loose pants. Whispered into my ear very closely. Hot breath. We played a blindfold catch game where we would have these squeaky shoes and our friend would have to catch us. If they touched our forehead we would wear the blindfold and they would wear the squeaky toys. One of my female friends was the one and I was hiding behind a tree. She turns around to catch me. She trips over a rock and falls onto me. She was all over me. We had a 30-second awkward moment there and eventually we moved on and acted like nothing happened. Chased me up the fire escape stairs while acting like he was going to grab me. Zero interest in him, but being chased upstairs is apparently a thing for me now. Who knew, lol. Buttered the bread and squeezed a lemon into my water while waiting to order at a restaurant. Sophomore year, one of my more attractive friends smacked my ass, as a lot of teenage males do. Sort of a good game type joke. Turns out I'm bisexual. He bit my collarbone and I collapsed. Vampirism. We were talking about how is the proper way for a woman to show that a guy is her man in front of others while being discreet and elegant. While on a black tie event, for example, in the demonstration, she just touched the back of my neck while looking at me straight in the eyes, asked if I needed anything and left. That was elegant AF and turned me on right away. 3 months later, now she's my girlfriend and when she does that I still get turned on. Rolled his sleeves up to the elbow. Forearm porn. Looked at me. Was playing a game with somebody recently. She were really competitive, so she started to bluntly give me orders and directions on where to go, at points yelling the orders when it got hectic. It was an interesting experience. I was splitting wood at my buddy's house. His sister came up to me all smiling and asks if I need water or anything. She was all prettied up and wearing spandex shorts that really flattered her waist. I hadn't really noticed her like that until that day. My friend walked up the stairs in front of me in a dress, nothing underneath. I tried so hard not to look fr. Then at the top of the stairs she bent over. I didn't want to say anything or be a creep, so I just acted like I didn't see anything. Dunno if this was an accident, but my new coworker and I became friends pretty quick due to all the common interests. Anyways, we were hanging out and went back to her place to cool off from the heat outside. She took off her nylons just out of eyeshot and let out this moan of like, relief, or satisfaction. I dunno, but holy shit, I tensed up every muscle in my body for a while before getting up to calm the lil man down. This happened few years back in school. She was sitting on the desk in front of me, my hanky fell on the desk beside her and when I stretched my hand ahead to pick it up, couldn't see it, Instead of grabbing my ankle, accidentally grabbed her skirt and pulled it up enough for her to notice when she turned behind in surprise and gave me a sexy smirk which immediately turned me so on that I forgot to say sorry at that moment. Although a friend of mine, she was my crush, and this got me thinking for a long time whether I did that intentionally or not. We were playing around with a frisbee, and she accidentally pushed me onto the ground and I scraped my knee. She insisted on blowing on the spot to ease the pain, as a joke, and as she did, she looked up into my eyes and winked. God damn it, that was like 3 years ago, and to this day still get butterflies thinking about it. Smoked a blunt. Something about seeing the cherry light his face up in the dark, the way the smoke curled out of his lips, it was hot. Anyway, I married him eventually. She was kind to me, doesn't happen often, I'm not terribly social. I had a huge crush on her since high school. Skipping ahead, I'm in therapy, and I'm realizing that attention is not the same as affection. Sat on my face. One of my girlfriends started squeezing my thigh a few times this one evening, which definitely did something to me. I love women who cook. After one bite of one of her Christmas cookies, I wanted to throw her on the counter. She was still baking them wearing an apron while I watched her. How's your mom's cooking? Answered the door in just a towel. High school was wild. We were watching a movie when she suggested that we should cuddle. After a few minutes, she wanted to be the big spoon and nestled my head into her large boobs and started playing with my hair. She was talking excitedly about a game I taught her to play. She grabbed my hands and stared into my eyes. Not going to lie, I nearly planted one on her there and then. I have a mega gorgeous straight female friend who is very comfortable undressing in front of her female friends. I think you understand where I'm coming from. I try not to look. Okay, I, male, am an ag-tac, and my hands are as coarse as steel wool. I've never seen a human being, yet alone a woman with hands that don't feel like imported satin compared to mine. New bartender starts at the bar I frequent. I'm there for her first shift. We introduce ourselves. We shake hands. Her hands are not soft at all, and apparently, neither am anymore. I closed my tab and went home to my fiancé and tried to figure my brain out. Later find out that she is a heavy equipment technician in the daylight. I once had a girlfriend who ran a bath for me randomly after I had a rough day at work and just hung out with me. I felt like crying. I have alvinophilia, so when my female friend from years ago stretched in front of me with her belly button directly in my face, it was an instant boner. Alvinophilia, you like chipmunks. I was going through hard times, feeling all depressed, and we were in her car and she was like, I have an idea. You should just scream. Let's scream. But then when I was all shy about it, she wouldn't take no for an answer. She was like, no, come on, you'll feel so much better. I'll do it with you so you won't feel embarrassed. We can even turn up the music. So we just sat in her car together and screamed, and it was one of the nicest things anyone has ever done for me. I was formerly in a somewhat unique position where I saw a lot of my female friends naked in provocative poses, but for entirely professional reasons. That said, one time one of them was idly asking what stuff I was into when it came to adult content, and then sent me a low-quality cell video of her doing exactly that, starting with her saying, "This one's just for you," and it was one of the most arousing things ever. I had filmed/photographed the girl doing naughty stuff in HD a dozen times at least by that point, but something about a personal video that I didn't expect was insanely hot. My best platonic female friend likes to twerk with and on the girls when she throws parties. They all do it when they're drunk. It's just a fun time, nothing sexual about it. Well, from my perspective, as she is heterosexual. Anyways, we are both in serious committed relationships, and one time at a party she started twerking on me. Andy was just so flustered I didn't even know what to do or say. I froze up, and after a very short moment which felt like an eternity, she stopped, laughed, said, "Oops, I don't know why I did that, sorry, I'm too drunk right now," and walked away. I accidentally turned on a friend. We were in his living room during a group hang and we were going to smoke up. So he asked me to light a scented candle he had atop a high shelf on the wall. I reached up and took it down. He did not remember he had already lit it. The flame had been really small and the lights were on, so I didn't notice it was lit until hot wax ran down my arm and all over my chest. I had made a sound when the wax hit me, sort of a stunned gaspy noise. His eyes were like dinner plates and his mouth hung open. He just stared at me for a few seconds and asked if all was okay. I told him I was fine and half joking that I kind of liked it, and went to clean it off myself. When I returned he seemed almost upset. Elle asked if everything was okay and he confessed that was hottest thing he's seen/heard. And that he found it perplexing because he is a gay man. I knew this guy in college who I had a mild crush on, despite the fact that he was a hot mess. His favorite place to study was a pizzeria/bar, and for some reason, he seemed to think of me, a straight woman, as one of the guys, and would tell me about the women he hooked up with. That didn't do it for me. What did was the day he showed up in winter wearing fingerless gloves. I was flustered all damn day. I was laying in a hammock and she sat down on my lap and gave me this look. I had to lift her off of me before anything else happened. This was around several friends too, so I wasn't going to let anything happen. I was on a trip and staying in a well-known party hostel and met an Irish lad who worked there. We had a lot of flirty banter, and later when I ordered a drink he winked and said, "You're not paying for anything all night." The accent and the wink and the slight cockiness was the perfect combo. We were the first high school and we were playing kickball during lunch. My friend group was about 14 of us, and we had the bases loaded. Friend goes up to kick, rails her kick to right field and runs first to second base. As soon as she rounds second, she slips and falls face first into the ground. Her feet went over her head and she got stuck like that for a couple seconds. She gets up and she's bleeding from her lips, spits out blood and winks at me. Instant jaw drop. 4 kids and 3 dogs later, she still can't remember that day because she got a concussion from hitting her head. They joined a call I was in. I was venting to my friend about someone sexting me via Instagram, and my at the time crush had joined the call and they were trying to comfort me. I got so turned on that I had to tell them LD be right back, mute myself and then fucking panic because why the hell did my crush telling me it would be alright turned me on. A few months later I told them T liked them. It turns out they liked me too, and then after a few months we both kinda lost interest for each other. We're still best friends today though. Back in college, I used to wear hairbands on my wrist because I'm a dude with long hair. I also had a really bad nail biting problem. One of my female friends read online that associating a bad habit with a small amount of pain would help to curb the habit in time, so she got it into her head that every time she caught me biting my nails, she'd come over, pull on my wrist elastic, and let it go to make it snap back into my wrist, causing a very small but noticeable amount of pain. And this is how I found out I am not adverse to low-grade impact play. Plus, having someone care enough about you to want to correct one of your bad habits. Ooh yeah, now that's the good stuff. FYI, I still have a nail-biting problem, so I guess it didn't work anyway. My best friend is a dude that I'm really close with. We a level of trust and openness with each other that we don't with others, as we are both rather stoic fine types. With that comes a level of casual physical intimacy, for lack of better term. Every time he absent-mindedly just runs his fingers lightly over my skin or plays with my hair, I lose it. Oh, or when he moans a little when I'm running my fingers through his hair, or watching him use his power sander to strip and refinish furniture. Dude is always shirtless because of the heat and is covered in a layer of fine sawdust. I may have a problem. It was my first year of high school, and my friend decided to wear rather light dress to school one day due to how hot it was outside. Well, you could clearly see her underwear through it, but oddly only from the backside. And it just so happened that I was sitting behind her all of the lessons we had that day. And if that wasn't enough, it was of the fancy variety. I swear, I had a boner for the entire day. I was upset and she jokingly hugged me and shoved my face in her big tits. That was our sense of humor, so Elle definitely laughed, but also on the inside I was like. She touched my shoulder. I was friends with my neighbor in college. She rolled the best blunts of anyone I've ever met, so she was the default roller whenever we smoked. One day she's rolling one up while I'm telling her an intense story. Being a good listener, she's maintaining strong eye contact with me the whole time, including when she licked the length of the blunt end to end. That definitely did it for MNE. Walking in an extremely busy street, looking for a place to have a few drinks. And I mean very busy, people all over us, and it's fairly late in the night. Some people are getting a bit too close for my liking. The guy I'm with, walking in front of me, didn't even turn around, break his step or anything, but just quietly reached out and held my hand tight. That's it. Safe. Made me feel things ugh.